We stopped on section 7.5, the agriculture inputs uh, last time. Okay, guys, here we stopped here on this, and we talked about the erosion and the effect of the flooding of wind for the soil destruction, and now we are looking at the whole picture from the sense of other factors that really damaging the soil. Not only the wind and not only the flooding, the tower, but you have other stuff. We will see here other contamination from pesticides, from chemicals we are using to fight all those pests eating our crops. And then you have to deal with another problem beside the erosion of wind and flooding. Correct. So the agriculture depends on tap water resources, nutrition, favorable temperatures, rainfall, and productive crop varieties, and cultivation machines. So that's part of it. And we did not add, you need something to fight the pest, or you need the usage of pesticides and insecticides and pesticides and herbicides. Those are chemicals used to fight those pests. Those type of insects are feeding themselves on the crops, on the food itself we are producing. High yields usually require irrigation, and that's one of the depleting our tap, or 15% of whole crops here is using a lot of water. 15% of the water is used for agriculture. So the efficiency of irrigation of water usage is really greatly varied. In poor farmers may over irrigate their soil because they lack the technology to meter the tap water they are using, and in wealthier countries they are better off. They use a lot of technologies to water and measure the amount of water they are using. Fertilizers, such as, anytime I speak about fertilizers, I speak about salt or minerals that contain phosphorus, contain potassium, contain nitrogen, contains calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. All those elements here, they have to be contained inside. For example, I have calcium. Calcium can be calcium nitrate, potassium nitrate, for example. So I have two elements together. I have calcium and nitrogen. Then you can take phosphorus as phosphate. Okay, you get magnesium phosphate. You have magnesium and you have the phosphorus there. So those all are salts or minerals of those elements here mentioned. And if you go and in the market and buy from Home Depot, for example, you will get KPN fertilizer. Have you seen that? The fertilizer you buy, you can see always K and P and N. K for potassium, P for phosphorus, N for nitrogen fertilizer. So, and some of them you will see all those are together. All those elements are together. But most famous ones from the store, the KPN, phosphorus and potassium and nitrogen. So those are needed, but the soil is part of their food, and that enrich the soil itself. So lacking those minerals, you can see the way the plants are growing, or even the crops. It's not really healthier, or will be damaged for some, because it's missing those fertilizers, those minerals. Over-fertilizing is also a common problem. Well, always we have to be moderate. We don't have to over-fertilize it. What's happened is if you put too much of those minerals, guess what? They'll end up where? They'll end up inside the soil, and they seep into the soil, into the topwater level underground, and they will contaminate the underground topwater. So it's not healthy. If you have too much of nitrate, it's not healthy. If you have too much of phosphate, it's not healthy. If you have too much of sulfate, as sulfur, it's not healthy. So you have to really meter the amount of those minerals put into the soil, correct? So that's very, very important. Modern agriculture runs on oils, of course, because you are running machineries here, tractors and all heavy machines. You run them using crude oil. I mean, oil after processing it. So so our food requires more energy to produce, process, and get into the market than they yield when we eat them. Each hectare of corn produced in the U.S. consumes the equivalent of 800 liters of oil. So you can tell that's about 5 barrels of crude oil. So you can see 800 liters. So that's a lot. And if you have thousands of hectare, or if you convert it into acres, or convert it in a cubic kilometer, you speak about large area you need to cover, and you have to use a lot of oil to run all the machines needed. 1/3 of this energy is used producing nitrogen fertilizer from natural gas. 1/3 is for machinery and fuel. 1/3 is used for irrigation, synthetic herbicides, and pesticides. So you can see it's very important, the crude oil. So, but I think now the technology is going out of crude oil, because anytime you have a crude oil, the consumption, I mean, the usage of crude oil is what problem that crude oil can bring with it. So we know that our crude oil is very, I mean, the oil is very important to run this machineries, to run all those machines. But there is a catch on this, because when you burn, you combust your oil or crude oil, you have a lot of gases coming out. With the major one is CO2, carbon dioxide will come out, and those carbon dioxide is global warming issues. And not only this, the crude oil has other elements will come up with it. So other stuff such as mercury nitrate or lead nitrate, all those will come after you are pumping the machines, and then whatever is waste coming out, this waste will go to the air, and this air will come there, and then will come back to you as preventing any heat to get out, but it will come back as acid rain with all the other stuff beside it. Correct? So you know what acid rain we said? Acid rain is, what's acid rain? Acid rain, guys? Acid rain? Acid rain is we said we have to put fertilizer, correct? Nitrogen. So if we have a nitrogen, we put the nitrogen, there's an oxygen, there's always a possibility you get nitrogen oxides. Those nitrogen oxides will go to higher level, and then mix them with the moisture clouds, with the tabor clouds, with the moisture. You get nitric acid. Okay, guys? get what? Nitric acid. You have, that's as one of the measure of acid rain. Second one, you have sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid, you get all the sulfur inside the soil will turn as, with the presence of oxygen, so sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide will come all the way up, will react with the moisture, you get sulfuric acid back down. You have carbon dioxide gas, as a gas, going up with the moisture, you get carbonic acid. That's what we have in our soda. When you open the can of soda, you see the fuzzing gas. That's carbon dioxide gas dissolved in H2O. So you get a bunch of acids, but the major ones are more harmful is nitric acid and sulfuric acid. Those are the acid rains. And that can be overusage of oil can cause major problems with the production of acid rains. Nitric acid, sulfuric acid, carbonic acid, but the most dangerous one are nitric acid and sulfuric acid. Pesticides use continues to rise, and that's one of the major problems we do have. So those are really highly toxic contamination to the soil. We have to be really careful about using those chemicals, and you will see they're meant to fight those pests and all these insects that feed themselves on our crops. However, the overusage of this pesticides or insecticides or herbicides, all those are chemicals, can cause, at the end, what they can cause. What do you think a disease they can use? A chronic one, but very dangerous one.
Pesticides?
Was that? Yeah, what they can cause. What type of disease? Chronic one.
Chronic? Kidney failure? No?
That's one of them, but they had kidney failure has to do the metals.
Okay.
Metals. But those can cause, most of them here, those are cancer. All type of cancer. You name it.
Okay.
All type of cancer. You can name it. All types. All type of cancer they can cause. So, and that's a major problem. The overusage of the pesticide and the herbicide or insecticides, all those the same synonyms. Those are very, very dangerous chemicals. Correct? And this says it depends toxic chemicals, but very dangerous chemicals. And if they are in the soil, they will be pumped into the fruits and veggies we are eating, and that's very dangerous. So, indiscriminate pesticides usage can cause many problems, such as killing non-target species. You are destroying the soil and every good stuff in the soil. There is a lot of good bacteria is working inside the soil, correct? With all the fermentation, all type of reaction in the soil done by, to some extent, by bacteria, a good one. We said good bacteria. So whenever you are overusing those chemicals, you might kill those good bacteria there, and you will be some of those bacteria, even some of the organisms might be develop resistant to those chemicals, and then it will be very hard to get them easy out of the soil. How have we managed to feed billions? Well, I think the technology had played a major role, a major factor in feeding billions of people throughout the earth. Without the improved technologies, we'll never be able to do that. And here is the green revolution, or increased fertilization, irrigation, pesticide usage. All those are technologies we use to improve our crops production and feed billions. The Green Revolution has increased yield. Yes, that's always true. The technologies we have used has pushed those technologies and produced a lot of crops available to many people throughout the globe. Starting about 50 years ago, agricultural research station began to breed tropical wheat and rice varieties that would provide food for growing population in developing countries. That's really true. That's really true. So you'll see in Asia, most of the food is, their major food is rice. You'll see major food is rice, and it's produced in large quantities there. Genetic engineering could have benefits and costs. Well, that's happened not only for plants, even if you can take this one here for humans. So you are altering the genes by taking one gene from one plant and implant it into the other chromosome of other plant. So the other plant is weak, so you want to make this other plant, the weaker one, stronger to fight pests, to fight any intruders. So what you will do, you take some genes you are you are using the targeted method. So you target special genes and take them out of the strong plants, take them and then put them in the chromosomes of weaker plants. And that's really helping protecting the plants from being attacked by pests or intruders. We call them then genetic modified organism. Genetic modified organism, as I said, this idea is in humans as well as in plants as well as in fish. So you can always produce a stronger creature by get rid of the weakness areas by taking strong genes from one creature to put it in the same creature. It has to be the same thing. Human to human, fish to fish, and plant to plants. You cannot cross. You cannot cross this one from human to plant. That will not work because our DNA, our chromosome is not the same. It's not the same, correct? So those genetic modified organisms, they are really entirely new genes and called transgenic organisms. Transgenic means they are genetic new produced chromosomes. And as I said, the idea is transferred into all creation. To all creation can be done, but it has to be the same kind. Human to human, plant to plant, fish to fish, and so on. You cannot cross those creation. You have to be the same creation because the matching of the chromosomes, the matching of the DNA. So, and that's really helped. I remember this a friend of mine, about 38 years at Kansas State University. He was working in that area, and he was showing me how we did that. So I was very amazed. So you take some of the stuff, and even they bring some of the grass. It's now we don't use it, the weed grass. This we cut it off. We don't need it, but they take some chromosome of it because the weed is well known. It's really against the rain, against it's really. It's a very hard type of plant that's really resists a lot of harsh conditions. It took some of chromosomes and put it in a weaker plant, and that's part of his master's degree. I was very impressed with that. So some of the plants are really resisting a lot of conditions, harsh conditions, and they take advantage of this plant being very strong in all conditions, they take some of their chromosomes and implant it inside the other weaker type of plants. And it really works. It really works. So that's the new plant has new genes now, producing new genes with a lot of resistance against all the type of conditions around itself. So that's the whole idea of GMOs. I think everybody heard about this. Did you hear about this before? A little bit about the chromosome being implanted from the weaker to the stronger one. And at that time, 38 years at Kansas State, is a friend of mine, and he took the weed, from Kansas State University area. So took it out and took what all in the lab and took all the stuff chromosome and implanted in the weaker ones. So it works. So the weed, the weed is, you can keep the weed here in the snow, you can keep it in a flood, it will survive. It will not die. Even if it goes a little bit, but it's still there. It's really resisting a lot of harsh conditions. So and that's the same thing with the same examples. You can transfer it into other creation, man, human to human, fish to fish, insects to insects, and so on. Good management can build soil. That's really true. And bad management can destroy the soil. And one of those bad management, as I said, the overusage of those pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, those toxic material. If you are overusage, that's mismanagement. If you are over watering the soil, it's a bad management, because all the good minerals will be driven away from the soil surfaces, and it will end up in the ocean. So, and then one of those practice here, strip farming and terracing. Strip farming, planting of different kind of crops in alternating strips along the land contours can also conserve soil. I mentioned that before. I told you some farmers, you can go and look into, whenever you are driving into Macon and the area of farms, you can look. Some areas are empty, and then you can ask. They'll tell you, this area now we cropped it. We have to implant a new crop. We might not need it, but just to make the soil strong, to revive the soil status. So, and that's what strip farming is. So you take your crop, and you can't keep this one here exposed just to the erosion from wind and from flooding or whatever, or from over rain. But you have to protect it. How? You can't cover it. In some area they can, but it's impossible to cover large distance of land. So you can't cover it with whatever is plastic, black plastic, whatever. You can't do that. This is just too expensive. But what they do, they just put a crop that's really resisting harsh conditions, and they keep it there for a while, and then when it's start the time to crop the real one they take the old one and dump it out for the animals food, and then they just crop the other ones, and that helps to protect the soil. Terracing is shaping the land to create level shelves on earth to hold tabor and soil. Terracing is like building like at the soil, like small tiny banks that hold tabor inside as a reserve. Okay, so those are type of the management, a good management for the soil. And the third one, we say it's not there inside this, but to have really a close management for those toxic chemicals we are putting inside the soil, not overdosage, not overuse those chemicals. That's a good management too. Cover crops are reduced tilling, protect soil. That's what I just mentioned a couple minutes here. So you'll see is this to cover and protect the soil from erosion. And as I said, there are many ways they do it. You can do it if you have a small tiny area. You can cover it with the plastic. Okay, but the plastic has to give the soil some sort of air will come into, because the air and then ventilation. That's the easy one. That's a small tiny scale. But if you have large land and you want to crop it and then you want to save it from erosion, then you have to plant some type of crops that really you don't want in per se, but you want to protect the soil, so the soil will not be kept, just blank or bare, just exposed to the air and the wind and the rain. Just to protect it, you can add you can plant any type of crop that cover this area, this land just for a while, and then you can take this one, whatever you have cropped, you are not using it, you can give it to the animals as as a food, like give it to the cows, to the goats, whatever you are raising there, so they will eat it. But then at the end you have saved your area, your land from being exposed to erosion by air, through the wind, or by the tower through flooding. Low input sustainable agriculture can benefit people and the environment. That's really here as an example here. One guy in Europe, in Prague, in not Europe, here in Minnesota, New Prague, they depended on not using any modern machinery. They use an old way to produce their crop. And to our amazing, it really works. So they did not have that many huge land, but they have 97 hectares, which is large. I mean, it's not small, but not that huge land. And they really did not put any pesticides at all. So really that type of food is people are really want to eat, because that's originally they call it organic type of food, because they don't use any chemicals in it, and the cow is eating of what the leftover. They are rotated. They don't keep the soil bare or naked. The soil is protected. However, they keep their cows to eat, but they rotate them in, so the soil will be not exposed. And they put sometimes the antibiotic is used for the animals if they feel that the animals is having some diseases. So they don't really use any chemicals at all. And really that's we call it the organic food. And the fertilizer, they don't use the fertilizer, they use just from the waste coming from the animals themselves. So it does not cost them that much, but they are producing high quality of food without any problem, without any side effect from any chemicals. Consumer choice benefits local farm economies. We spend billions of dollars every year to support prices and repay farmers whose production expenses are greater than the value of their crops. They are compensated. The policies are deeply entrenched in our way of life, politics, and food system. But there may be some steps that consumers can take to support beneficial changes in farming methods and farm policies while reducing their negative effects. So one of the area here, if a lot of people, we don't want to be vegan just to eat veggies, but if we can reduce amount of the food and then really depend on the type of food that will replace the meat, for example, such as beans. Beans, they have the same amino acid, the same like meat, no difference. The amino acid coming from the animal has a lot of side effects, has very bad side effects. It has cholesterol and fats. Those cholesterol and fats, they have negative impact on our health. So that's I mean, it's always preference, but if we can go by eating more veggies and more beans, they will be better off. Okay, guys, better off, and the economy will boost, and then even the usage of machineries, the usage of crude oil will be less. You can be a locavore. You can be a locavore is a person who consumes locally produced food, and we are really locavores, by the way. So if you look at the food at Walmart, Target, the food are made by our own farmers, Georgia farmers. It's not imported from nowhere. I have some friends that have farms, and they bring some of the food inside Target and Walmart. I was surprised. So the food you are buying from farm market or from whatever, unless it's a very very unique, like a farm market, the bigger one there. Some of the stuff is imported from other states and maybe from outer states, but most of the stuff we are using is really planted by the farmers locally and consumed locally as well. So supporting local farmers can be a variety of benefits, from keeping money in the local economy. That's one. Keep the money inside Georgia, not outside Georgia. And maintaining a viable farm economy can also help slow conversion of farmland into expanding suburban subdivisions. Farmers markets are usually the easiest way to eat. Farm markets are usually the easiest way to eat locally, and that's really true, unless they have some very strange type of fruits or veggies. They imported whatever from South America or whatever. So that's the case. But most of the stuff is produced locally and then distributed and bought locally here. Okay, guys. So you can eat low on the food chain, and that's what I just said. If we depend more on grains and vegetable, less meat, that will be very good. That will be very, very good for our health, for our economy, because the more you eat meat, the more the meat is getting more expensive by day, and it has a lot of health associated of eating it, while the veggies and the beans, they have zero side effect on them, so they don't affect anything, because beans, they have pure amino acids, pure protein, without no cholesterol, no fats, no other side effects. So takeaway points. Well, food production has grown faster than the human population in recent decades, and the percentage of the people facing chronic hunger has declined. That's true. Increased food production results from many innovations. That's the technologies we talked about. These changes bring about environmental problems such as soil erosion, water contamination from pesticides and fertilizer. Consumer can influence farm production by choosing what food they buy and where they buy it. And that's always, this is the conclusion of the chapter. And as I said, give me until tonight. I'll email everyone if after finishing quiz number four, then I'll tell anybody this is now my own. So let's go for chapter 13. I'll stop here.